So, sorry, Phil, we got cut off, so we'll call this part 2 of our conversation. A question that I get from a lot of clients is, what happens if the internet goes down? How do we contact Phil to execute a trade, to liquidate our holdings? What happens?
Well, in the event that happens, we have some protocols in place. So we do have a landline at the main office. So that would be the safest way for a client to reach us in the event there's an issue with the internet. We can be reached by on our direct phone lines as well. So trades can be executed over the phone. So it just depends on the scenario. I mean, we have to sort of be prudent about planning for what if scenarios. And as a company, we have measures in place if that were to occur.
What about if the internet goes down and there's a cyber attack and all the banks are down and one cannot, does not have access to their bank accounts?
Well, clients have to be prepared for that locally and on their own end by having some precious metals, cash, or other forms of payment on their person in the event that happens. Because if that were to happen, there would be a short-term disconnect from them and us and their precious metal holdings, and their accessibility would be temporarily compromised, right? If there's no way to send a wire, we're in the process of looking at other methods of paying out from trades. So we can basically accommodate a payment out in the event the banking system is down. But at the moment, that risk, while it's a possibility, is a lower probability as far as a total breakdown of the banking system and our ability to send funds. But in any event, we have a redundant offline record of our clients' holdings, and we have a class 3 vault. So there's not a cyber attack with physical precious metals does not affect or risk the underlying asset the way we're structured.
So people can rest assured their holdings are secure, and eventually there would be a way to make contact.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. We have the vault would be on lockdown with the proper security protocols in place and video surveillance and security systems intact that can function in the event there is some sort of disruption. Keeping in mind also the Cayman Islands is an extremely secure location, and our vault is located within a security building that adds another layer of protection. It's 5 minutes away from the police station, and we have the British Navy that protects the island. So there's a lot of, if anyone's concerned about cybersecurity and maybe the other types of attacks or risks that may go alongside as a double sort of hit, they can be assured that we have a lot of measures in place to protect their holdings in the event that happens.
So tell me about it. Your vaults are class 3 in the Caymans. It's a class 3 vault. What exactly does that mean? Because I would imagine that you could be robbed. But tell me, what precautions do you have in place from a very high level heist?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, because there is a lot of wealth stored in the vault, and anyone who wants to protect their wealth wants to know, well, what happens if? And in the event, let's talk about the rating. So the class 3 it refers to a rating of the vault, which is the most secure vault in the industry. So a class 3 vault is, it's going to take 120 minutes of continuous torch or tool hacking at the vault to try and penetrate it. Well, you've got to remember there's other security measures in place, as security systems, police station close by. So you're talking about even the most sophisticated criminal, there's 120 minutes of time for them to be caught. So we have other measures in place beyond just the penetration itself of the vault and the security there. So that's what
you had mentioned that there's a 24-hour process to break into these vaults. Can you expand on that?
Well, it's just when I was referring to that, I was speaking to like the average, even more sophisticated criminal would not necessarily have all those tools. It would take them even longer but it's 120 minutes of continuous torch. Well, you can't have a continuous torch going for 120 minutes uninterrupted. So it's just, it's not, the probability of someone penetrating the vault is so low, it's almost negligible.
Yes. Now, I wondered, it sounds as though the Caymans are a perfect location to be storing precious metals. How's your competition there? Are there a lot of other companies with vaults in the Cayman?
Well, we have, our senior partners are Cayman natives, and they have, successful businesses and relationships on the island. And it is a high level jurisdiction. So they have relationships that have really allowed them to be the sole vault facility and dealer on the island. So there have been other people that have attempted to run businesses there, but they have not been successful. So we are the only option in Cayman. So effectively, it allows clients to access an ultra high net worth private location to store wealth by leveraging our relationships and the relationships of our partners.
Okay, that's very interesting, because the Caymans are well known for offshore bank accounts, but for offshore precious metals, you are in a unique position.
Yeah, we're the sole option. So it allows clients that can't necessarily access the banking system, because there's a large commitment, an investment commitment for clients to be able to obtain residency in the Cayman Islands.
Right.
And in order to access the banking system, it's not for everyone. So effectively, because of our relationships and our business, we're able to give access to a very unique location for private wealth storage. And more so, the client's able to store in metals, which we're the only option to store physical metals, which is outside of the financial system altogether.
Right. Are your other vaults, because you have vaults all over the world, are they all class 3, or are there varying security levels of your vaults that you work with?
Yeah, that's proprietary information I don't have at my fingertips at the moment, but they would all be within the compliance requirements in each jurisdiction as far as security ratings, but I don't have the exact rating of each vault at my fingertips at the moment.
Okay.
But we've vetted, you can be assured we've vetted all of our vault partners.
Okay. So with the digital ID coming, if someone is not able to access their bank accounts anymore, a big question I get is, well, how would I get my money from the Caymans into my bank account where I am, short of getting on a plane and coming and collecting it? What do you say to people who say, well, what if I have no more access to bank accounts to wire the money? What are the options?
Well, it depends, because I think that those will be jurisdictional risks. So I think it's prudent for clients to pick locations to live in where they're comfortable with the government and their trajectory insofar as how they view these types of potentially restrictive measures. I'm just being mindful of how to speak to that. But I think your audience can understand what I'm getting at. So that being said, they should consider opening up bank accounts in those more favorable locations so that they can receive a wire from us to them, because we can send a wire anywhere in the world so long as the bank account is in their name. They just may not want to have the funds sent back to a bank account in a jurisdiction they no longer want to do banking in.
Yes. So it's not a matter of, the bigger issue is establishing bank accounts in jurisdictions that you trust that will allow you to conduct a wire transfer of some sort.
Yes, exactly. And that's a little bit beyond our scope, but there are resources out there for clients. And because of our experience, we can give you our opinions on potential banks and so forth. But we certainly don't want to misconstrue or misrepresent ourselves rather as a financial institution or financial experts.
But you would have the intel. You would have the intel on how people are able to get money out. You'd be
we have some pretty well-founded and educated opinions on the matter.
Okay, perfect. Now, what about for clients who have gold or silver in their possession and would like to get it out of the country? What do you recommend that they do?
This is something that we specialize in. We have a full team and a logistics manager that's an expert in this area, and your representative will consult with you to give you an estimate on the price to arrange an insured pickup. So we can act quite quickly on this and get your metals into a protected location as soon as possible.
Okay,
And
so typically is that, so say an individual's in Canada and they would like to get those precious metals out of the country. How does this work? Are they going to the safes in Toronto and then they're being shipped down to other vaults, or what's the process?
so we have a white glove service for this. So we can customize it because all of our clients have different requirements and different asks. So some clients may want to do a drop off at our Toronto vault or another vault if they're not, they're an American citizen or have metal stored elsewhere. Some clients have metal stored at other facilities around the world, so we can arrange shipments or pickups from those facilities as well. And then they can select where they want to have the metal stored. And our team will give them a cost benefit analysis so they can actually pick a jurisdiction that's safe and also the most cost effective for them to transfer their current holdings to.
So transporting something like silver, which is quite heavy, is that expensive?
It's more expensive than gold. So we would look at the most cost effective solutions. And because it depends on, different things in the supply with our shipping companies and their supply and demand for locations, sometimes we can work more favorable rates or group shipments with other clients to save our clients money.
Mm-hmm. And what is the reporting? So if a Canadian has precious metals and they're trying to get them out of the country, what are your obligations to report?
Well, we always, we want clients to protect their wealth in a legal manner so that they're reporting in such a way that it's at the client's sole discretion and responsibility to do their due diligence and seek legal advice.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't get involved in that. And the reason being is we don't have to rush a non-financial institution.
Mm-hmm.
And
sorry,
I'll just need you to get yourself situated. I know
I'm in a busy spot here, but there's good Wi-Fi. So.
No, that's fine. I know it's great that we were able to get a solid connection
never
again.
have to move during an interview like this. It's quite comical, but anyway.
You're actually getting quite the workout while we're chatting here.
So essentially, it's up to how would I say? So you are not reporting. Your company is not reporting to anyone. The onus is on the client to report as they see fit.
Yes, yeah, because the Cayman Islands is again a private location, and the government is autonomous from any other government, including the British government, the U.S. government, the Canadian government. So we don't report to them. Mm-hmm. Our government does not have any obligation to report to them, nor does our company. Now, of course, if there's a nefarious actor, someone who's done something illegal, and an outside government or outside institution demonstrates that, and by going through our court system, by the way, to actually present this in a professional manner, we're of course going to comply, because no one wants their holdings held with someone who's not an honest person. So all of our clients have to conduct their own research into what their reporting requirements are wherever they live and have reporting obligations. But as a company, we have no reporting requirements to any government agency, any tax authority, and that includes not only around the world, but even our own Cayman government and tax authority. We do not report.
Okay, perfect. Now, a big question I get is that people are going to their institutions in Canada, to their banks, and they're meeting resistance in terms of getting the money to you. Can you walk me through the best way, the most expedient way for clients to make a purchase with you? They have a Canadian bank account. What is the most efficient and what is the most efficient way to make a purchase?
Yeah, we've done a lot of investigation on how to do this effectively, and that is why we have set up a bank account with a commercial bank called Signature Bank in that has branches in Connecticut and in New York in the United States. So clients who live in Canada simply have to go to their financial institution, and they should speak to a manager who's knowledgeable on international wire transfers. And that manager will either take care of the wire for them, or they will give them one of their representatives that can actually specialize in that. So they are going to request a US dollar international wire transfer. And when the reason they have to go into the branch and speak to a manager is to get a more expedient service.
Mhm.
Now, in every bank has to do their own due diligence when they're sending wires. So they may ask questions like, what's this for? Or what do you know this company? So a client should be prepared to answer yes, and that they're making a purchase. They don't need to disclose all their details in the middle of the bank, and they can tell the bank manager or the teller that, look, I don't want to discuss the details of my purchase. I'm in a public space. And they'll understand that and respect your privacy. They're just trying to make sure they're doing their due diligence. So if there is a greater concern, it's a client's responsibility to say, look, I've done my research. I trust this company. I've researched and I looked them up. And if they have any further questions, one of our representatives is more than happy to speak to any representative at a bank, answer their questions. And we have, our bank has prepared a letter for cases where the bank wants to do due diligence on our company. And we have a letter that states we're in good standing and how long we've been doing business with Signature Bank. So that is what will alleviate and satisfy your bank's due diligence obligations to their clients. And that will put yourself at ease, your mind at ease, and as well as the branch representatives that you're dealing with, so that they can complete the transaction for you on the spot. There should never be a delay. This should all happen within the span of one visit to the branch.
Okay, so it's not essential to have a US bank account to do business with you. You can efficiently transfer the money to your Connecticut bank account and essentially transact the deal that way. But in a sense, I feel as though having a US account adds an extra layer of, how would I say? It's just one extra layer of, not anonymity, but you understand what I mean? I think some people feel more comfortable investing in gold offshore in a non-Canadian bank. Is there a benefit to that, or do you think that's not really important?
No, I think what's important is that every client is different. So because we want to make our service is customizable to all of our clients, we accept funds from anywhere in the world, as long as they're converted to US dollars before they send it. So that means if a client many clients are readjusting their life and potentially relocating. They're doing different things right now, and they have a lot of moving parts in their life. So if it's easier for them to simply go in to the bank and ask them to convert their Canadian dollars into US dollars and send the wire, that's the quickest way they're going to get the funds to our bank in the US. And Canadians send funds across the border daily. It's a very common practice. So they're not doing anything that's unusual. So there should be no friction when they're doing that. They may be asked some questions, but those are due diligence questions that are normal. So they shouldn't be alarmed when they get asked these questions. They just need to be prepared to answer them correctly.
Right.
Now, clients who want to have a little more, let's call it privacy, or they do banking in more than one jurisdiction, it is your right. You're allowed to bank legally wherever you want. So if you want to open up a US domiciled bank account or a bank account domiciled in a European country, for example, you're more than welcome to do that. And you can send your funds to your own bank from your Canadian bank to your own bank account in another country, and then send the funds from there. That just creates a little bit more. You've exited the Canadian financial system at that point into your own bank account. But we are, again, not banking experts, but that's really up to the client's discretion. But we accept the funds either way, whatever's easiest for the client.
if a client wants to come and visit their gold and silver holdings, is that possible? Or are they able to get on the Zoom call and have a look at their position or their holdings? Do you ever have clients that say they would like to view them?
Yeah, we accommodate both requests because at all of our vaults, we allow clients to pick up or drop off. In the event they cannot pick up or drop off, we can provide pictures at any of our outside locations of their holdings and do an audit.
Mhm.
At our head office location in the Cayman Islands, we can actually do a virtual vault tour with one of our LBMA certified vault managers, or we can schedule an appointment in person where they can actually come have a visit, meet the team, see their medals, and that often creates a great sense of comfort for our clients.
I think that's tremendous right now because there is a huge trust that someone is imparting to you as a company to be putting significant sums of money into precious metals offshore. You have to have a relationship with that company. So I think that adds a wonderful level of comfort to know that at any time you can have a virtual visit with your, with your holdings. And actually, I think it was last week, Stansbury Research, had one of their reporters or something go into the vault with you, or not with you, but someone on location in the Caymans. And part of their report was this tour of the vault, which I haven't had a chance to look at, but I find that very interesting because it's not very often that you get to go inside a vault.
Yeah, we have, we have a series called Inside the Vault on our YouTube channel. So if you look up Strategic Wealth Preservation on YouTube, you'll find our channel. And I really encourage people who are considering investing in precious metals to visit our channel, because you'll see inside the vault, you'll see what the facility looks like. It'll give you a much greater sense of trust to see that we've opened our doors in that way. Plus, we have our managing director, as well as some other representatives on our team that have done interviews and presentations that will help educate our clients as well.
Right. Well, I think that is about it for my questions. I get one question that I think was answered. I was going to ask, how do you compare yourself to the Canadian competition, Kitco, Sprott, some of the major companies that are gold vendors? How would you sum it up? How are you different than the competition?
Yeah, well, I think like you've mentioned some competitors, and I think it's important to note that we have relationships with some of the biggest competitors, so to speak, in the industry, and we have working relationships. So they've trusted us with their offshore storage for their clients and for some of their own corporate holdings. So we're very well respected in the industry, even amongst our competitors. The major point of difference and why clients would want to deal direct is because of the non-reporting requirements, that privacy, that extra layer of not anonymity, but just of privacy of their holdings and the details.
Yes. Some people are nervous that at some point the government, say the Canadian government, will confiscate your gold or silver supplies. What would happen if that were to happen? If that were to happen in Canada, can you envision that happening in Canada or other jurisdictions? And if it did, then what would, how would that play out?
Well, I don't want to envision it happening in Canada. I have faith still in the country. I think it's in a transitional period, and I think it hasn't, even though people talk about it, it's definitely in the industry. It's a discussion we have, many times a day. But it's not, the probability is still quite low. And the whole point is, if Canadian citizens are allowed to hold precious metals. If you're storing them offshore, the Canadian government cannot simply overreach their own jurisdiction. So they'd have to go through try and physically reappropriate Canadian citizens' funds. And I would say if a client has funds or assets, rather, in this case. So if a client has precious metals stored physically in the Cayman Islands, and the Canadian government makes it illegal for private citizens of Canada to hold precious metals, that might be a time for another discussion. Like maybe, you know, you might want to think about looking for another residency or citizenship at that point, if you don't agree with your government's practices anymore.
So worst case scenario, if that were the case, would you be obligated to report to the Canadian government? I don't think so.
No, because there's no nefarious activity. So we've never had that happen before in Canada. So I can't speak to exactly what would happen. What I can tell you is that this is not a matter of a phone call, and we would not comply with opening our books unless unless the Cayman court system deemed they had justifiable reason for us to do so. So they'd have to go through the court system in Cayman, not in Canada, but in the Cayman Islands.
Right. Well, you know what? I think we pretty much covered all the topics that I had on my mind. So thank you so much, Philip, for your time, and we will talk again soon.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, Marianne. And, I really appreciate you taking the time with me as well. And, at SWP Cayman, we're all happy to help with any clients who want to ship their metals overseas, or they want to make new purchases and store them with us. So they can visit our website, swpcayman.com, or you can put them in touch with me if you'd like.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Phil.
Thanks very much.
Again.
Take care.